JD here, and as you can see, we are finally back with a video. Apologies, it has been a while. I know I've been pretty inconsistent this year, and actually for quite a long time. Real life has got in the way, but I'm very confident from now on that I should be able to upload a lot more consistently. I think over this winter period, I will be going back to iRacing, going back to some of the older F1 games, because it's usually around this time of the year in the game's life cycle where you don't get a bit bored, but you tend to want to diverse into other things, and yeah, that's something I'll be looking to do. So if there's anything in particular you'd like to see from me, I think I'll be bringing back quite a few more tutorial videos in terms of the trail braking, traction, no assists, generally just how to get better at the game itself. But this video here, you can see we are back with league racing. I've done a couple of rounds in the past couple of weeks. This is at QATAR. You saw my last race at Las Vegas. It was quite controversial with F1 Alwin, who he did get a penalty, but since we both crashed outside the points, didn't really affect him at all. So our main goal in this race is to try and beat him by as many points as possible. Not sure I can secure P2 in this race, but if I outscore him, he's going to need a bit of a miracle in Abu Dhabi from the penultimate round to being in contention with me for P2 in the championship. So Carl, as you saw at Las Vegas, he already won the championship. He has been Mr. Consistent. And for me, I'm just looking to secure P2 in this championship. Had a lot of highs, a lot of lows in this season. Learned a lot of things after being away from league racing for a couple of years. So I'm really excited for next season, where I feel I can apply those lessons and really put together a full campaign of actually challenging for the title. But right here now at QATAR, a track I do enjoy, but the pace just wasn't really there. In practice, I was doing 20.5s, 20.6s, actually quite consistently. And you see at the end of this qualifying, if I managed to do that, that actually wouldn't have really been too bad at all. But in this session, and for the most part of the race, you'll see in the second set of the race, we did drive pretty well. But for the first part, was really struggling. And I think the setup wasn't, I wasn't 100% happy with the setup. I just didn't feel the balance was quite there. And just watching this finish back, I feel like I could have been pushing to the limits much more. But my main priority again was just to try and secure P2 in the championship, or just simply outscore F1 Alwin, because I can't quite secure it here. But if I did beat him, then it's going to be really difficult for him in Abu Dhabi to beat me to P2. So you can see coming towards the end of this lap, we are barely up on our time, lost a lot of time in this last corner. I was always struggling in this last corner, having a lot of understeer, going across the line. It's a 20.8, and
rubbish lap.
You hear me say that's a rubbish lap. That wasn't really particularly that great. And you can see 20.3, Zeddy360, who comes back to this league, a driver I raced with a couple of years ago, who is absolutely rapid, one of the fastest drivers on PlayStation. If I did a 20.5 or 20.4, that wouldn't really have been too far away. So I was actually quietly optimistic. I decided to start on the hard tyres, because after watching other leagues, F1 Esports, hard to medium is actually the preferred strategy. So I was quite surprised no one else did it. However, you'll see as a couple people do jump start, Anton, and also F1 Alwin, my rival for P2 in the championship, has done a jump start. That means they are going to have to be doing drive-through penalties. So unless there is a safety car later this race,
what happened to some of that?
Their race is effectively over. So I have no idea what happened to them. I think we had a different host for this race, and they just got caught off guard by a light, something like that. But
a huge jump start.
That has obviously benefited me quite a bit. And we're actually up to P4. And right here now, being on hards up into this position, this is actually the perfect place to be. The problem is, on this strategy, the hards are really hard to turn on the first few laps. You can see really struggling to get the traction here. Invincible tries to go down my inside. That puts me a little bit off for this corner. But if I have any chance of making this strategy work, I have to stay with this lead pack. I cannot afford to lose the DRS to them. And you will see here on this lap here, I was just really struggling to get the grip of the tyres. And again, I just wasn't 100% happy with my setup. And I just don't think I was really driving as best as I could either. So it's really crucial to stay within this DRS zone. But you burn ERS so quickly around here. And you'll see going for this corner, that should be flat out at 6th gear, cutting inside. I'm actually doing a bit of lift and a downshift there. This last corner, I think I got it wrong 20 times out of 29. I just was losing so much time. Zay does a 24.9. We do a 27.7 first lap, so that was 3 seconds down. And the mediums are going to be very quick at this stage, but you can see we've already lost that gap to the top 3. Whereas if you had any chance of winning this race, we needed to stay with them, because after 4 to 5 laps, the hards actually become, they start to cross over, start to become actually a little bit of the quicker tyre. And then at the end on the mediums, you are very, very fast, but you have to be staying with the front runners. You can just see here, I'm already struggling to stay with these guys up ahead. Zeta's a 24.0. What do we do? It's a 26.2. That's 2 seconds off. And, watching the eSport guys, they were able to stay, because obviously the level they're driving is insane. We just weren't driving that well in this first stint. I just didn't have any confidence on these tyres. I just couldn't turn them on, couldn't get the temperature into them, and yeah, just driving way too conservatively. And you could already see we're just struggling to keep with these guys up ahead as well, and being under attack from Case to Lee behind on the mediums. But yeah, it just wasn't working out, and I think in hindsight we maybe should have just gone the mediums, where we could have easily stayed with that top 3 with the start we got as well. Could have easily stayed with that top 3, and then I think where I'm at my strongest is I'm not always the fastest driver. Most of the time I'm not even the fastest driver in the race, but I believe the fastest driver doesn't always win the races. It's actually the smartest driver. So I feel normally if I can just put myself where I need to be, I can kind of almost outsmart people, out-strategize them, out-ERS them. You can see again, just struggling in these tyres. So even on lap 4, just really struggling. Only just into the 24s now, so the tyres are slowly but surely starting to come to me. And you can see we're going down to P7 here, so this is really not a good first stint. And you can see, if you look at the video, look how far the leaders are gone. We needed to be right there within the DRS train, but Zelly, who is a very fast driver, probably in this game, you need to be within the DRS, you need to be on the right part of the track, you need to have the track position. Zelly is just so fast, he was dragging those guys along, and I just couldn't keep with them on the hard tyre. So yeah, really struggling this first stint. You can see we're up into P6 again, but now we've got a bit of a gap up to P4, P5, and like you saw by other races, like at Austria, when people work together up ahead of you and you don't have the DRS in them, they can just slipstream past each other. One guy pushes one lap, overtakes, then the other guy pushes the other. It's really difficult to catch up, and I just wasn't really able to save the ERS as well. So you can see we're not even catching the guys up ahead, simply because they are just working together, swapping positions each lap. Now I'm coming under attack again. The hard tyre is the fastest tyre now out of everyone on the track, so I'm actually lapping the fastest on track right now in free air, but again, I'm just out of position, and I've already just lost so much time in this first stint. So coming towards the end of this first stint, this is where some people will start to think of pitting. So we're in P6 right now. You can see a bit of a gap ahead. Carl, 24, the champion of this league, has already pitted, so he's actually pitting very early, coming off those medium tyres. And you can see as we go through the next few laps, everyone else now starts to pit, and you can see Schumacher has a 10-second penalty, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Maybe he's sped into the pits or something like that. You can see a couple of other guys have now decided to pit. I think it's Zelly who stood out. Look at the gap after 12 laps. He is 9 seconds in the lead, and yeah, he's going to come into the pits and this lap. And we did start to catch, so the mediums were going off. The hards are now the fastest tyre, and now they're going to go on the hards, and now they're going to get a bit of an undercut. So we just got to try and go as long as we possibly can and use the freshness and really the speed of these medium tyres in the latter stages to see what we could do. So because we're in about net P6, P7 in this race, so coming towards the end of lap 17, almost messing up that pit entry quite badly. When I was watching the PSGL, if I was able to stay, if I was able to be much closer to the front and staying in the DRS train, arguably if I could have been within a second or two of the leaders, you really want to be going to the end of lap 19, maybe even the end of lap 20, and then you're going to have even fresher mediums. Doesn't really matter about the undercut, because you're going to be about 3 to 4 seconds lap faster than per lap on the initial laps on these tyres. So it's going to come out of the pits, we're in P14, so we've lost so many positions, but you can see the gap is 2.7 seconds. You'll see how quickly we close in on that gap. And even towards the end of this lap, look at this, we've already closed 2 seconds in under a lap. So that just shows how powerful the mediums are, and a much fresher medium compared to what the others were on at the start of the race. You can see purple sector 2, sector 3, a couple of other guys of the hards pitted. So in terms of our strategy of the hards, we were way ahead of anyone else on the same strategy. But you can see here now, caught in a little bit of a train. ERS is really difficult to be saving around here, so you don't really get too many opportunities. And despite me being about 2 to 3 seconds that faster than anyone on track right now, we are just caught in this train, and these guys are really battling hard. So we've got to be very tactical, as Ickle and the Haas coming a little bit side by side here. So we're just going to try and let them really sort themselves out for these next couple of calls. He gets really pushed out wide, and then we go around the outside side by side. I don't think Ickle knew I was here, because we've not really been given that much room here, and we just got to think about the exit. So we've got so much more grip at the moment, really crucial to get through these cars as much as we possibly can. So we've got to go down the inside of this hairpin. Luckily he leaves me room. We leave plenty of room on the outside, and that's now us up into P11. But again, you're going to see how much more grip we have going through this section. And with the setup, I feel I was pretty fast in a straight line, but I think I was just losing too much in the corners. I was just losing, and I was just having so much understeer in these corners. So again, I think the balance of the setup definitely could have been much better. But you can see in the straight line here, the good thing is that we can actually save ERS quite a bit. And you can see going through and following through the dirty air, not being affected too much. You can see being super close. So just making sure we get a really good exit coming off this last corner. We're in P11 right now, so we're not even in the points. We've got 8 laps of this race to go, so we've got to be using ERS here. Does he fight it? Don't think he's really going to fight this too hard. He knows I'm on a much faster compound of time than him. Now we're up into P10, and we've got to try and dispatch of these 2 cars up ahead of me as quick as I possibly can, because there's another little train up ahead of like 2 to 3 or 4 cars. If we could get those guys, then we might have a chance of actually getting a fairly good result. So we're going to go down the inside of this Alpine here, and a little bit hesitant, but he decides to let me through. So very fair racing from him. And you can see Alman sets the fastest lap, but he is way down because we've had no safety car, and he had to do a drive-through on the first lap of the race. So in terms of P2 for the championship, this is good, but I want to score as many points as possible, because it looks like he's not going to be scoring any points whatsoever. So now we're up into P8, and see the gap up ahead is 2.2 seconds. So let's see how quickly we're closing on the gap. And you can already see at the end of lap 22, we are within the DRS zone. So that just shows how fast the mediums are. So I do believe the hard to medium is the faster strategy. You can see we're still setting the fastest lap of the race. I just had such a bad first stint. If I could have just made those tyres work, could have just driven much better, not lost the DRS to the guys up ahead. I think the problem was that Zeddy was just so fast. He usually really likes to push with ERS on the first few laps of the race. He was just dragging everyone along with him. I just couldn't stay with him. If he didn't push with the ERS, might have had opportunities. We got down the inside of the Williams of Invincible here. Now we're up into P7. A guy up ahead also has a penalty. You can see the gap is 2 seconds. And as we skip on ahead, you can see again, look how quickly we close in on this gap. So moving towards the last 4 laps of this race, you can see we've got about, I think, 2 to 3 cars up ahead. I also know Schumacher, who is right behind Zeddy, who's in P2 in this race. He does have quite a bit of a time penalty attached to his name as well. So there is a chance that we could even still get a podium in this race, despite how bad our first stint was. So come off here using all of the ERS and using that straight line speed. We're going to go up into P6, and I think there's an opportunity to even get another car going to turn 1. So as Max doesn't have the DRS, go down the inside and using the grip of these tyres up into P5 now. Guy up ahead of me does have a penalty. Carl does have a penalty, but you can see, look how much of a gap he actually has. So into P5 now, and as you're coming through into this last corner, really this is my really only chance to get this guy here. So just getting a good exit. Try not to use the battery here, because I want to see how much I could even close in the top 3, depending on how many penalties they have. And now we're going to go up into P4. See, Carl's a long way ahead, but Schumacher, look how many penalties he has. I think that's can't even read that properly. I think it's like 22 seconds worth of penalty. So he's 15 seconds ahead. Coming into the last quarter of the race, you can see the tyres were starting to level out now, so didn't really actually gain that much time. But coming across the line, with the penalties that Schumacher has, I don't know how he's got that many. We actually somehow come back into P3, and because F1 Albon had an absolute horror show of a race, that has actually benefited me quite a bit. And you can see we actually ended up finishing about 16 seconds behind Zelly, just getting caught in that traffic. If we didn't have that traffic and trades,
not an incredible
we would have made up time in that last stint, but we just had such a bad first stint. But for P2 in the championship, you see the standings here, this actually worked to my favour very, very well. But next race is Abu Dhabi, where it's a mandatory 2-stop. And I can tell you, if you haven't watched my stream, I'd recommend you to not actually watch it, save it for the highlights. That was a very, very good race. So again, I really hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know what content you would like to see of me over the Christmas period. I think I'll be doing iRacing, go back to games such as 2020, F1 2018, and maybe even doing some world record video attempts on not maybe this game, but I think on other games in F2, in classic cars, things like that as well. So let me know what you want to see. Thank you so much for the support, and I will be catching you very, very soon. Peace.